So with patch 14.1 hitting the live servers, we are already seeing the meta evolve immensely. It's very possible if you've been on Twitter the past couple of days, you might have noticed this tweet from Frodan, where he's even put out his first impression Spark Notes, talking about a bunch of different S tier, at least what he believes to be S plus tier, S tier, A tier, and whatever. A bunch of really interesting reads, and quite honestly, I think he's actually pretty accurate with a lot of this. So if you have no idea how to play the patch, I highly recommend going to check this out. He did say that he was going to film a video on this. I don't know if it's already out yet, but nonetheless, if you find the tweet, I will link it below in the description. You can go check out his YouTube channel. It's just Frodan TV. But nonetheless, I think he has a very good read. But within this read in his Spark Notes, there's one composition he does not cover. And honestly, for good reason, and that is Corki Reroll. Corki 3, it's in the thumbnail. You already know what's going to be the topic of today's video. But if we look at the stats, this unit's fucking terrible. Corki 3, 4.57, 4.6 average, less than a 50% top 4 rate. With stats like these, this is looking like a B tier comp, right? Like what makes a comp S tier or S plus tier or A tier? It's the consistency, right? Your consistency to be able to top 4 and win out lobbies. And with these stats, it looks fucking terrible, right? So why are we talking about a B tier composition, right? So what's the point of talking about these comps that are like not that great? Well, there are alternative outs, right? If the line is given to you and you have a chance to play it, maybe consider trying to play around the line. So in today's video, we are going to do just that and talk about this alternative line and how a pro player, namely Spicy Appies, performs and plays such a weird line and is still able to find a lot of success with it. Just for those of you who are unaware, Spicy Appies, day one of the patch, actually had an incredible game of streaks going on. Like look at this guy's scores. He's 1-1-1-4-7-1. And this is just the beginning half of the stream. He actually continues to perform very, very well throughout the stream. He had a very good read on the meta and he's doing a fantastic job playing the patch. And again, this is day one. This was taken from yesterday, so already fantastic. Here, as we can tell, we are inside of the Scuttle Puddle realm. I apologize, my chair is squeaky. I still don't have a new chair. Yo, Secret Lab sponsor me. And we are given a bunch of different options here. Scuttle Puddle, yeah, you normally want to be making 10 on 1-3. That is sort of the general rule of thumb. But Corki Headliner is pretty good. It's not amazing. It's not like S tier like last patch, but it did get nerfed very slightly. But with 8-bit changes, it's like pretty much neutral. So quite honestly, it's still very takeable in my opinion. It's not something I think it really makes sense to skip, especially if we're sitting on a quick love. It's very likely we're going to be playing around some level of an AD line. Nonetheless, we do have another Corki in shop as well, but it's not something we're really going to consider or picking up because, again, I mean, sure, we have Corki Headliner, but that doesn't mean we automatically think about playing Corki Reroll, right? That's not something we're really going to consider from the spot. Crazy enough, Spicy Appies, actually, he also decides to hold onto a bunch of these one costs as well, instead of holding for, like, instead of selling to try to make economy, which I thought was really interesting. I think a lot of players in that spot, myself included, is definitely making 10. Like, Olaf pair, Evelyn pair, these are not pairs I highly value by any means, but it's very possible that Spicy Appies has a different read than I do. But nonetheless, making 10 I think is great in this spot, but hey, that's his playstyle. Clear Mind, Martyr, remember your roots in this spot. Typically, again, we are in Scuttle Puddle. I think Clear Mind Scuttle Puddle is fucking broken. It basically, you have so much economy that you get to level 8 so early. You get to play super high tempo. You get to 8 and you just get to play whatever standard line you want. Super great for standard lines, not great for rerolling. It's one of my favorite augments of this current patch. Martyr's great as well, just not that great in the early game. Remember your roots, not that great in general. Just it's sort of like an augment. Like if I have it, I guess I'm fine. He finally Stars Are Born, and he's already starting to think about Stars Are Born. And the reason why is because from this spot, he has a bunch of one-cost pairs. So if he's going to think about playing a potential reroll, right, especially because he's sitting on like 2 extra Olafs here, he hits the Olaf Headliner, plus maybe he hits the Olaf in the shop. Now he's already on 8 Olafs, and then he can just go one more, and he has 9 Olafs, and that's his Olaf 3, and he could maybe play around that as a potential line. So already really interesting that he decided to take the Stars Are Born line. I think it's really cool. Again, it's only a play that you can really do because he decided to play his stage 1 the way that he did. This is a difference in playstyle, right? But anyways, as you can tell here in his shop, though, he does have the Corki, he does have the Garen as well. So he's going to obviously play his strongest board here, which is going to be the Corki 2 Headliner with the Garen 2 and the Cassante. So already we sort of decided, hey, you know what? Garen Corki in the shop. It's a Corki reroll game. Let's do it. Stars Are Born. Fuck it. So that's what we are looking at here, and already we are in a pretty decent spot for Corki reroll. We do have the Evan Shroud Slam here. I think it's really prudent as well. There's nothing else you're really gonna make out of this belt. Guard Breaker is not that great in general. I think Appies in this spot also decides to level as well. The reason being is because he won his first round. Typically when you're playing around a one cost reroll, you don't really want to be leveling just because you are playing around a one cost. You do want to be able to roll on 3-1, still on level 4 odds. But I think in Appy's head, he's thinking, hey, it's Scuttle Puddle. There's so many resources. We're going to find like, we're gonna have the gold to find it anyways, and then we're not even married to this Corki reroll line. We could actually just still think about, okay, you know what, maybe instead of playing Corki reroll, we can still tempo with double Corki and then figure it out from there. Just use Stars Are Born as a tempo to level 8 augment, which I think is really, really nice. So he's keeping his options open, surprisingly, from the spot. He's not fully committed, but he's definitely playing around 80 just because of the Evan Shroud Slam. So we're already making 30 at 2-3, which is a lot of economy to be sitting on, which is super nice. And we're just sort of just cruising from the spot. There's not much else to really be said. So honestly, funny enough, I'm just gonna keep fast forwarding. There's nothing else to really see here. Creating up Davidas, you might recognize this guy's name because he actually won a cup back in set 9.5. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but he did win it. He was one of the first ones to innovate the Earth Legend line, if you remember anything about that, and the absolute just disease that implodes onto the TFT scene here. But nonetheless, Peace is able to find another 2 Corkis in the same shop, which is super crazy. And we did get a cloak off Carousel. This cloak I don't really know what this cloak is, to be completely honest. It's just that we don't have really better options. We do want things like IE, we do want things like Deathblade onto the Corki here, but nothing really screamed like, hey, like we need like there wasn't anything in there that was screamed like, hey, we need this no matter what, right? But anyways, looks like we did end up losing our streak, though. We are win-win, loss, win-win, but you know what, that is okay, because based off the current changes with the streaks, honestly, it's not even that bad. Like right now with streaking, it doesn't really feel like you actually have to streak. It just feels like it's nice. Like if you streak, it's fine, but it's nothing that's gonna make or break the game. There's actually, incredibly enough, if you came by my stream yesterday, you know there's this one game that I lost my 4-loss streak. I thought I was gonna keep it going into neutrals, and then I lost it. I was so mad. But then, you know, as the game progressed, suddenly it's just like, oh shit, like, hey, wait a minute, it's 4-loss. It's only 1 gold. That's nothing, right? So suddenly these streak changes, they don't feel that impactful unless you're able to hit the 6, and that is really hard to do. So that is just something that we just have to keep in mind. It's just absolutely, like, streaks really don't matter as much, or at least they feel way less impactful than they did before. So if you're trying to open for it for that 5-loss, or for that, unless it's maybe for like a 6-loss, I don't know how the hell that's even gonna happen. Maybe stage 3. Keep in mind, like, it's not as impactful as it used to be. But anyways, basically natural to Corki 3 here, which is pretty nutty. So we're already sitting on a pretty interesting board here. We do have 3 big shot, but I mean, that's just how it is. It's just a strongest board, and we're given Overwhelming Force, Twin Terror, and Hedge Fund. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Twin Terror sounds kind of spicy, no pun intended, in this spot. Just because Twin Terror with Corki reroll, we've actually seen it done before. Soju has actually played this line before. I think it was either 1 patch or even 2 patches ago. It was a long time ago when he played this line. But we've definitely seen people succeed with it, but there is a problem. Our Corki, if you do not remember, has 0 items. We're playing a Corki 3 with 0 items on our board. So even though Twin Terror sounds absolutely spicy, it is not the best choice in this scenario, and actually Overwhelming Force is probably our best option. So, and Hedge Fund, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, like, we need items, right, for our unit. So Overwhelming Force is the way to go here. There is maybe a slight argument to be made for Jewel Lotus for the Prismatic, just because Jewel Lotus is just extra damage for our board, right, and that's kind of what we're needing. But items are also pretty important here. So it looks like we are also sitting on, let's see, we have Sword, Belt, and Cloak, and Crit Glove. So Appy's also, by the way, he makes a really interesting decision here. He actually slams QSS over a second IE, which I thought was really, really interesting. And he actually slams Sterax onto this Garen. These slams are really peculiar, in my opinion. I think Guard Breaker makes a lot more sense. Now that we have the IE, we have the extra crit in there. Finishes up our items pretty nicely. We do have a sword and a cloak to be playing around, and it's a little awkward. We could also make an argument for double IE instead. The late duck tech, I guess you could call it, but basically double IE is surprisingly pretty strong. It's not like as inefficient as, like, you know, IE Deathblade GS, right? That's slightly better, but it's not by a large margin. I think someone in the comments in his video actually did the math on it, and double IE is like maybe like what, like 10% worse, or maybe it's maybe 5% worse. It's like somewhere along the math. If anybody actually knows the math, let me know. But nonetheless, I would have definitely linked those 2 options over the QSS. I can't really tell you why he chooses QSS. There's maybe small justification to be made that he knows he's gonna maybe play a Riven on his board later down the line, so it's very possible that he removes the QSS, plays it on the Riven, and then maybe thinks about re-rolling at 7. But I don't think that's that great of an option, to be completely honest here. I think from this spot, you just keep playing tempo, trying to see where it takes you, maybe even try to fast 9. You might also notice we have Heartsteel on our board, which is super duper important whenever you're playing around 80 flex, regardless of the AD line. The reason being is that because 80 flex, especially on this current patch, really needs those extra juicers, those extra bits of juice from the hard steel cash out to really pump up the board's strength in that way. That is sort of the only way you can ever really make AD flex work. Otherwise, it can be very difficult to succeed if you're doing things like the Ezreal line or the Caitlyn line. If you don't have these extra components, this extra gold, these extra resources to pump into your board, if you don't have those, you will soon start to see, especially playing against reroll boards, your board will not win against them and you'll be struggling. So getting the extra juice hardstyle throughout stage 3 is crucial. You can also see as well, he decides to cash out as well because there's no chance in hell we're fucking losing, right? So we're not going to raise the stakes here. We're going to keep the streak going. Also, a very interesting change to the hardstyle trait. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's cool and I think it's fun, but I also do think that raising the stakes is almost always the correct decision to make, especially when augments like final reserves and last stand exist. You should almost always be raising the stakes every single time, especially if you hit it super early, and then you just cash it out if you know you're gonna, like, if there's like even a slight chance of you winning, right? Otherwise, if you know you're gonna open fort throughout stage 3, which a lot of people end up actually doing whenever they raise the stakes throughout stage 3, you know, you're gonna almost always raise the stakes. But anyways, going back to the game here, level 8, we did get a bunch of items dropped here, which is kind of weird. We're getting so much components out of nowhere now, almost seemingly out of left field. I know Emily Wang was actually talking about this on her stream, but she does feel like components have felt a lot scarcer throughout the early game. Like you're just unable to itemize your units as quickly as before for whatever reason. We could kind of see it here because if he didn't get the augment, he didn't get overwhelming force on 3-2, he would be awkwardly stuck with the Corki 3 with no items. I kind of understand where she's coming from because personally speaking, I've also noticed this as well in some of my games where it feels like the components aren't dropping as much as they used to. I don't know why that's the case. Obviously, we always end up with the same number of components, but it feels like we're not getting everything until a lot later, and it feels really, really bad. So I understand where she's coming from, and obviously it could be confirmation bias, but we'll see how it is. Anyways, Healing Orb, Sticks and Stones, Silver Veil, we are back. Not Silver Veil, not Sticks and Stones. We're probably leading Healing Orbs. The only reason is because, actually, it's probably not Sticks and Stones. I think this augment's fucking terrible, although the utility is really nice, especially because we do need that shred. We don't have any shred on our board at the moment, but I think we do have a Lucian on our bench. But Sticks and Stones, actually, funny enough, it's a 4.5 at 4.2. It's not even as bad as I thought it was. So, but honestly, it's very possible we just take Sticks and Stones for that shred, and it seems to be okay. So actually, I take it back. Sticks and Stones is probably the correct choice in this spot. Healing Orb, Silver Veil, they're not that great, especially because of QSS. He decides to roll over it. That hurts me a little bit, especially because I looked at the stats. It's actually not that bad. And it just says take Unified instead, which is kind of it's an okay decision to make. Oh, sorry, we do have the Evan Shroud. So yeah, Sticks and Stones was redundant. I apologize. If we didn't have Evan Shroud, then maybe Sticks and Stones was a bit more of an option. But Evan Shroud should be enough. There's no real reason to get Sticks and Stones as well. Anyways, going back to the game as well, we are sitting on a Caitlyn one. We're 4 8-bit. We have the Garen 2 as well. I don't think we're ever really playing 6 8-bit ever in this spot, only because we would need a spat. That's the biggest reason. Maybe we do get a tome out of the Heartsteel. We'll see. But we're level 8. We're 50 gold. It's 4-2. We're going fast 9. Appies, again, if you've been noticing his rolling, it's super duper efficient. And you'll see this across a lot of like the 1,000 LP players. They're very efficient with the amount of money that they use, and they use as little money as possible to spike their board as hard as they can when it's, the most efficient, and then they just go down. I know it sounds like I'm being redundant, but it makes sense, right? They're being super, super good with their money, and that is what's being able to get them to push their levels so much quicker, and then find those higher end shops and be able to cap out with strong ass units. We finally have started to lose a little bit, and we are gotten our first loss here at 4-4. So honestly, we're chilling in a really good spot. We also do see the spat that's on the carousel. I would argue it's pretty unlikely we do get it from the spot, only because I think spat is a little more flexible than it used to be. There's definitely some lines that definitely like it, especially things like pentakill, especially 8-bit like the one that we're playing. And even emo spat has been sort of popping up in the meta a little bit with some whispers of things like emo TF and emo Sona. I don't really know what the hell's going on over there, but it's definitely something that you can consider in your games if you happen to find line for it. Again, cashing out because we don't know how long we're going to be playing this Heartsteel, and we don't know how much our board has actually fallen off. We are playing against Sox here, who does have somehow a Ziggs 2 on 8, which is fucking crazy. Also too big to fail. His board is actually super duper strong. There's no way we're winning this, but the fact that it's even like this close, it's a 4-unit loss, that's actually pretty fucking good. So we are pumping levels slowly and slowly, but our board surely at this point has fallen off. So now we got to think about, okay, how are we going to cap out from the spot? As we can see here, we are slowly losing. A lot of the lobby has already hit the majority of their boards. A lot of already pretty upgraded disco boards. A lot of Riven 3. Sorry, not a lot. There's one person playing Riven 3. But from the spot, it looks like that we are probably chilling with we're probably gonna have to try to cap out at 9 in a very different way. Also, by the way, Davidas, playing Jinx reroll and still streaking. He's 100 streaking, 15 streak in Scuttle Puddle with the Jinx 3. Really impressive. I need to check if his VODs are on. I might have to go check out that game. But nonetheless, Scuttle Puddle 4-7. Again, infinite resources. We are fast 9. We're going to start trying to cap out things like the Caitlyn 2, things like the Lucian 2, right? Try to figure out ways to cap out our board as hard as possible, especially looking for legendaries. We do have a bunch of money to be looking and spending around, so we'll see where we go. Unfortunately, we got to roll over that Heartsteel Ezreal. That is quite heartbreaking. We do pop the Anvil here with 20 gold left in the tank. I think this is very prudent. The reason being, oh, never mind. He's going to keep going here. Try to find a little more pairs as well. It's really interesting to see how he's going to actually cap out this game. He does have the Cassandra on his board. He does have a bunch of pairs he's sitting on as well. He has another Caitlyn pair on bench. He does have the Lucian pair on bench. To be honest with you, I have no idea how he caps out this game. I actually personally don't remember. But nonetheless, we'll see what else he finds here. If he does find something like a Jhin Chosen, I think it's actually very possible he does take it and actually sells the Corki headliner. But that's kind of like the only thing I can really think of when it comes to like capping out here. You can also make the argument that he actually caps out by just selling the Corki and then just playing around Caitlyn and legendaries, and I think that's fine as well. It's actually Caitlyn and Lucian. If you don't know this already, Jhin has sort of fallen off quite a bit actually in terms of AD flex carries. He was the premier AD carry for like a very long time, but it was only if you had like a mega front line, right? But nowadays, a lot of people are talking about the power of something like a Lucian 2, where nowadays Lucian 2 seems so much stronger and so much more reliable than Lucian now, which is kind of surprising. Even if you look in the stats as well, you might notice that Lucian 2 is just not doing nearly as well as like, or sorry, Jhin 2 is not doing nearly as well as a Lucian 2. But anyways, we have finally used our remover here. Move items. We have the IE, the interesting, wow, IE, QSS, and Hodge onto the Corki here, and then Deathblade onto Lucian. I cannot explain why he values his QSS so highly on this Corki, to be completely honest with you. And we've actually stuck with this Corki Chosen this whole time, which I think is really interesting, especially after the Lucian 2. I think it's very possible that we could just drop the Lucian, or sorry, drop the Corki headliner and just play around like a 4-cost Chosen headliner, or maybe even a 5-cost. We get very, very lucky here. But surprisingly enough, I think Appies is actually sticking around with this. As you can see on the right hand side here, 185,000 for his score. We still have the Cassandra 2 on our board here, so our front line is actually still looking pretty whack. I wouldn't say our board is stabilized just yet, but we are definitely decently strong for 8-bit 4 big shot. This is a very unique line, not something you see very often here. Probably want to cap out with things like Jazz, but then also want to really get a better front line. Things like the Alawi, things like the Thresh are definitely going to be really nice on this board. It's actually, we are still bleeding out quite heavily here. Again, I was a very big fan of selling this Corki headliner a long time ago, but it seems that Appies has other plans. So let's see what the other plans are, because personally speaking, I'm lost. I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do in this spot. This is a very interesting spot to be in, to be completely honest. My guess is that if we stay with Corki 3, we sell. If we stay with Corki 3, we keep the Garen, we keep the Riven. But quite honestly, I'm down to just sell like basically all of the 8-bit except for the Garen, and then just like cap out in other ways, right? Anyways, going into here, we are going into the King Crab. I didn't know we were actually in. I thought we were in Scuttle Puddle. No, it turns out we're in the fucking it's called Crab Rave. Fucking, this is the big ass. Or actually, no, this isn't the one that fights you back. No, we are in Scuttle Puddle. I'm a fucking moron. Yeah, what they do. If you haven't already seen the King Crab already, it does absolute immense levels of damage. I actually don't know if our board clears it. I'm pretty sure it does, but it would be close. Anyways, popping up the Anvil here, just looking for tank items. I do agree with this. Crown Guard and Warmogs is really nice. We are 50 gold. We are not going to try to go 10. We're definitely going to roll on 9 here. There's no way we go 9 with this board. Or we go 10 with this board, excuse me. But we do need to play it for one more turn because we do need to get the cash out here. Getting 22 damaged on stage 6 is pretty unlikely because our board is still decent. It's not amazing, but still decent. As we can see, Davidas, by the way, the Jinx 3 player, is slowly bleeding out. Cash out here, get the final thing. It's another Crown Guard. Super nice. A lot of bunch of items on our board. Wow. Bro level to 10 in this spot? Damn. Okay. I mean, he's just a better player than I am. But, like, quite honestly, I mean, is that even right? Like, I don't think that's right. Personally speaking, I don't think that's right. I think you definitely just fucking sell the Corki and you just play around like legendaries. And you just cap out with, like, a very, very infinitely stronger front line. But, wow, he actually decides to level the 10 in this spot. That's so... let me know if you would have done the same, because I definitely would not have. But going level 10 here to play a fucking Gragas for Bruiser. Unfortunately, we do get the HP bar bug, but I think we are playing a ghost, so it's not as bad. We should be guaranteed a win here, so that should be fine. Really interesting to see a bunch of 1-cost rerollers like topping out. Davidas with the Jinx 3 and Spicy Abbies with the Corki 3. Really interesting board here, but now because we have gone level 10 here with the Corki 3, there's no way for us to actually spike our board besides just rolling for some upgrades. Maybe some Malawi's here, right? So I don't think we're ever selling this Corki. I think we're married to it, and we're just gonna roll here because it takes too much money to pivot in the spot. So already really interesting to see how this is. I think this Jin 1 is not as... It is probably as strong. It's probably stronger. It's probably stronger than the Ezreal 1. It's kind of close, but post nerfs, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Jin, especially because we'll probably be able to ramp up with the Jin, although it's gonna be hard to say because Shojin definitely isn't as great as blue buff on him. But maybe it's gonna be fine here, and sure enough, we are knocking out Davidas, but he's not dead just yet. 4 HP left in the tank. Ezreal 2, definitely better than the Jin 2. Back into Heartsteel. No way we're catching out, though. And we are going to be soon enough approaching stage 7. Again, getting 22 0'd from this spot, it's very unlikely. But with this janky-ass front line, again, look at this front line. It's Garen 2, Riven 2, Cassante 2, and Alawi, thank God we have one, and a Set 2. It's a very janky 5 frontline, 5 backline comp. But it seems to be working out. Obviously, we do lose against the Riven 3 player. Again, I believe that's a Viego player as well. It's like IE, Radiant, Hodge, and Titans. Really insane board to be playing against. But somehow we are still in it. Davidas has actually fallen down. Unfortunately, we are securing a top 2. So even though, yeah, we're still on this Corki headliner throughout the entirety of the game here, this is incredibly impressive that he's still Corki headliner in this spot. I would have swapped a long time ago. I'm actually very impressed. Anyways, getting the GS here, getting the IE. Now we have quadruple itemized carries in the back. All of the 8-bit stacking as well. This is a very interesting and quite honestly, like, somehow intimidating board. We do have the Alawi 2 here, but no way to transfer the items over. Really interesting spot to be in here. You're going to see how the last fight goes down. And it seems as though with 4 fully itemized carries, which would not have been possible without Heartsteel throughout the mid game, and basically the entirety of the game, to be honest with you, we have managed to secure a first with infinite resources with the jankiest of units. Very, very interesting board to win out with. Props to Abbies for playing this line. I thought it was super interesting. And I hope you guys learned something. So take care, guys, and happy climbing.